Running out of time, I don't know where to go. Looking for something, what I don't know. Where do I go from here? Where do I turn from here? Time has come for change, I must make a choice. Try to shout it up, but I can't find my voice. I'm scared to continue from here. Where do I go from here? Poets preach of two roads diverged. They tell you to take the road less traveled. Standing at a crossroad, those lines get blurred. Which way to go's not easily unraveled. Trying to choose, but I can't see what lies beyond the bend. If only I knew what was waiting for me at the end. Is this the right road for me? Where is my choice gonna lead? Poets preach of two roads diverged. They tell you to take the road less traveled. Standing at a crossroad, those lines get blurred. Which way to go's not easily unraveled. Nobody else can tell me which of these roads to take. I decide for me, I live with a choice to make. This time I'm gonna leave. I choose my own destiny. It's my choice. It's my decision. It's my road.
Oh, Jenny Jo and all her friends put magic in their stitches. Take our rags and love's bright threads and turn them into riches. Make a quilt to warm the world, change the hawk's cruel weather. Sew a painting of us all in peace and love together. Take a snip of your life, take a scrap of mine, sew them all together in a rainbow design. Each bright stitch brings old world wounds together while it mends. Send it off to Russia, make some strangers into friends. A snip of your life, take a scrap of mine, sew them all together
We sing out for the people who rise up for human dignity. We sing out for the people who light a candle in the dark. We sing for those who faced their fears and stood up when it counted. We sing for those who dried their tears to come back once again. We sing out for the people. There are people here among us, you may not know their name, but their deeds speak so loudly, they are heroes just the same. You may not see them on the news, and you may not hear them praised, but what they do inspires us and makes our passions rise. So we sing out for the people who stand up for human dignity. We sing out for the people who light a candle in the dark. We sing for those who faced their fears and stood up when it counted. We sing for those who dried their tears to come back once again. We sing out for the people. Well, I knew a man in Denver, I doubt you know his name. He put his body on the line, his people's rights to gain. They beat him on the way to jail, but he didn't stop. And what he did inspired me. It gave me strength to stand up and sing out for the people who stand up for human dignity. Sing out for the people who light a candle in the dark. We sing for those who faced their fears and stood up when it counted. We sing for those who dried their tears to come back once again. We sing out for the people. I know a woman in Montana, generations in her name, struggling for her native people to get treated just the same. You may not see her on the news, and I doubt you'll hear her praised, but what she does inspires me and gives me hope again to sing out for the people who stand up for human dignity. We sing out for the people who light a candle in the dark. We sing for those who faced their fears and stood up when it counted. We sing for those who dried their tears to come back once again. We sing out for the people. There are many stories like this, and I don't know them all. How people like you and me answered the call. I doubt they knew they had it in them when it came around, but when the time was there, they found it, and they stood their ground to sing out for the people who stand up for human dignity. Sing out for the people who light a candle in the dark. We sing for those who faced their fears and stood up when it counted. We sing for those who dried their tears to come back once again. We sing out for the people.
Can we walk this road together? I can't travel it alone. I need someone beside me to help me find my way back home. 'Cause this world is full of anger, and I've been walking through some pain. So if we walk this road together, we can find our way back home again. It's a home of many colors, no ceilings and no walls, but there is room for all our brothers, with no graffiti in the halls. We can share this road together, so if you walk with me, my friend, with you right here beside me, we'll find a home with peace again. It's a home of many colors, no ceilings and no walls, but there is room for all our brothers, with no graffiti in the halls. We can share this world together, so if you walk with me, my friend, with you right here beside me, we'll find our home with peace again.
Come to New York City, see them laying round. Oh, mothers lost her children, now they can't be found. It's the same old story, he's come to bring you down. From the sky so far above you, pieces on the ground, yeah. Here we go again. Ooh. Out from Oklahoma, not many years ago, then he drifted down to Texas, into old Waco. He's right there beside you, but you may never know, always standing in the shadows for a chance to take control, yeah. Here we go again. Ooh. There's a little bit of him in every you and me. He's the part of you that you hope no one else will ever see. Only you can bind him, throw away the key. For another day is dawning, for the dark side of man in you and me. road we travel, and we say we've learned a thing since we walked with JFK and heard John Lennon sing. Yeah, I guess it all depends on what you want to bring, for it's always been a struggle. Remember Martin Luther King, yeah. Here we go again. Ooh, there's a little bit of him in every you and me. He's the part of you that you hope no one else will ever see. Only you can bind him, throw away the key. For another day is dawning, for the dark side of man in you and me. For another day is dawning, and this we all agree. We must find a way around the dark side of man in you and me now.
Another man done gone. Another man done gone. Another man done gone. Another man done gone from the county. Didn't know his name. Killed another man.
We have no racist friends.
This is the life I have been given. These are the seasons of my time, and I am seeking out the light according to design. I've weathered storms I cannot count to make this world my home, in a place where small and twisted things can split the hardest stone. In one like me, you might not see how I have managed exist. A fragile, crooked rack of limbs in terrain as rough as this. But for those who take their chances here, experience has shown that sometimes small and twisted things can split the hardest stone. So shed no tears of pity here, spin no tales of tragic grace. Just let it be enough that life is blooming in this rocky place. It is the proof that seeds will grow wherever they are sown, and that sometimes small and twisted things can split the hardest stone. It is the proof that seeds will grow wherever they are sown, and that sometimes small and twisted things can split the hardest stone.
My father's mansion's many rooms have room for all of his children, if we do but share his love and see that all are free.
Hi, I'm Paul Zerlo, President of Health Markets at Blue Cross of Idaho. I want to welcome you all to the annual Wassmuth Center for Human Rights Change Your World celebration. Each year, this event is a celebration of the hard work done to protect human rights in Idaho, as well as a call to continue the fight to ensure every Idahoan is afforded the same rights, dignity, and respect we all deserve. And this year's theme of the art of human rights gives us a chance to acknowledge the powerful role the arts can play in bringing greater awareness to this ongoing fight. Tonight, we'll have the opportunity to honor some of the incredible artists who call Idaho home. Their work is both a celebration of humanity and a call to action to protect and promote human rights for all. Blue Cross of Idaho is proud to be a longtime supporter of the Wassmuth Center. We share the center's mission to advocate for all Idahoans. With everything that is going on in the world, it feels like the Wassmuth Center and the work it does is more important than ever. And that is why it is so important that we support organizations like the center. Because as Idahoans, we can make a real difference when we stand by each other. The center is dedicated to promoting respect and human dignity for every Idahoan through education, and tonight we'll be honoring an inspiring Idaho educator who is making a positive and lasting impact. It's a lesson all of us can take to heart. While we may feel divided, we need to remember that we are strongest when we come together. Blue Cross of Idaho is proud to be able to stand beside the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights as it continues to make Idaho the kind of place where everyone feels welcome. Thank you all for your support.
All the patriots are gone. They ran back down the alleyway, back to where they came from. As the flames are getting stronger, unrest and ambivalence, so many questions to ponder. What you see before your eyes, images you can't forget. Well, it comes rise in his castle, the revolution carries on. With willful apathy, thousands of voices plead just for equality. What you see before your eyes, images you can't forget. Well, it comes as no surprise. We've learned a lesson yet. When life goes the way it serves, we don't need another bystander. When life goes the way it serves, we don't need another bystander. 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 We don't need another bystander.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Blue Cross of Idaho, for sponsoring the 19th annual, third virtual Change Your World celebration. We are so grateful for your support. My name is Dan Prinzing, Executive Director of the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights. To our audience this evening, welcome. We're delighted that you are sharing your time with us. Committed to promoting respect for human dignity and diversity through education, the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights recognizes that learning about and actually living human rights is a journey. It's a journey that is repeated often throughout one's life as we acquire new knowledge, reflect upon what we have learned, then commit to action. Just as Marcus Eaton sang, we do not need more bystanders. As an education center, we see our role on that journey as that of a guide, providing programming and resources on-site in the Idaho Ian Frank Human Rights Memorial, off-site in classrooms, companies, and communities throughout Idaho, and online, now reaching national and international audiences. Each program and resource designed to foster upstanders who are cultivating a climate and culture that embraces respect, compassion, equality, and justice for all. Tonight, we are going to talk a lot about the new Wassmuth Education Center, but I'd like to begin by referencing one of the new quotes that will be featured on the 9th Street side of the building. Simple, though quite very poignant. The quote, to serve as a good reminder to all of us, I am still learning. It is a human rights journey. As Paul introduced, tonight's theme is the art of human rights. The relationship between human rights and the arts is not obvious. Human rights are commonly understood as a set of internationally agreed norms and standards. They cover economic, social, cultural, civil, and political rights. But human rights are more than a legal instrument. They are a powerful moral notion associated with the idea of human dignity, and as such, they are a source for inspiration. And as we'll see, they are capable of galvanizing artists. So we're excited to share a program of visual artists, musicians, actors, as each uses creative expression in a commitment to human rights. But let's remember, this is a celebration, so we got to have some fun too. It is my sincere pleasure to welcome tonight's co-host, an artist, a philanthropist, our very own community powerhouse of acceptance. Rocci Johnson, where are you and what are you doing?
Hey, Dan, and hello, everyone. I'm here at the legendary, world-renowned Huff and Hannah's and the home of the Rocci Johnson Band. We've been here at 621 Main in beautiful downtown Boise since 1978. So we're celebrating 44 years of Humpin' Hannah's this fall. My husband built this place and laid every brick that you see in these gorgeous arches and the masonry throughout our buildings. We have beautiful art, eclectic pieces laced throughout the masonry and hanging from our ceilings throughout our establishment. So you can say we're pretty proud of our place. But I think the thing that we're most proud of is the fact that we're an extremely welcoming establishment. Everyone feels comfortable here because all are welcome. It's time to don my Toastmaster hat because I have a job to do. I've always wanted to be a Toastmaster, so I'm kind of excited about this. Oh, look, I have with us our finest bartender, our partner, Lance Fontanilla. Lance, how's it going tonight?
Doing great. How are you, Rocky?
You know what? Look at these signature glasses. Just say yes to human rights. So, our signature cocktail, Lance, let's talk about that. The signature cocktail for our event this evening is the Thai Colada. In the Thai language, the word for community is Nam Jai, which literally means water of the heart. So when Thai people refer to someone who's got Nam Jai, that means that that person is willing to sacrifice for their friends and extend hospitality and generosity to others. Let's talk about the ingredients we got going on here, Lance.
So first we're going to start by adding ice to our beautiful glasses.
Cool. Got your ice going. Always got to have an ice with a cool beverage.
Next we're going to use a rum. Today we're going to use our Malibu coconut rum.
Okay.
Ounce and a half?
Ounce and a half, okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Next we're going to use
that extra little bit of rum.
Yes. Next we're going to use our delicious coconut water.
Looking good.
We're going to add some pineapple juice. And 3 dashes of our Angostura bitters.
I love bitters. You know, bitters is very good for the digestive system. So we're taking care of the digestive system tonight too.
Yes. We're going to do is squeeze the lime.
Well.
And we need to garnish with a lime.
All right. Now, for my most important job, before we get to our collective toast, my most important job of Toastmaster is the taste test. Here we go. Ooh, yummy. You have Nam Jai, Lance.
Thank you.
You know, whether it's mixing a delicious beverage that we all can share or creating works of art like the signature arches here at Hannah's, or performing music or dance or any of the other myriad forms of artistic expression, we can utilize all of those forms of art to motivate people to stand for social justice, to stand for human rights. Etched in stone at the Anne Frank Memorial, no one need wait a moment. We can start now, start slowly changing the world. So without further ado, let's raise our glasses to the art of human rights, the Change Your World celebration at the Wassmuth Center. You know what? Nam Jai, the water of the heart. Cheers.
Cheers.
Nam Jai.
Good evening. I'm Bob Sarney, founder and principal at Ion Agility. We are proud to be returning this year as sponsors of the Wassmuth Center's Change Your World celebration. Human dignity, respect, justice, and peace are the mission of the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights. Their mission is critical to the health and success of our community, society, and ultimately our world. This event tonight is their signature fundraiser. Your support furthers our cause, a cause we fully support at Ion Agility. I want to thank you for your participation, your contributions, and your continued support. Have fun tonight and show your love.
Thank you, Rocky. I'm looking forward to you joining me on stage shortly. Bob, we are delighted and we are thankful to recognize Ion Agility as a celebration program sponsor.
Thankful for love,
thankful for peace, thankful for this moment in time to watch you sleep, thankful for health, thankful for joy, thankful for the light I see in young girls and boys, thankful for friends, thankful for growth, thankful for the tug of the universe pulling on my road. Thankful for dogs, thankful for trees, thankful I'm tough enough to get back up when I skin my knees, thankful for time, thankful for tunes, and this giant galaxy with stars and the moon. Thank you, love, thank you, grace, thank you for still being alive and surviving a dark place. I give thanks for all I have, and each day I wake up, I can't do it all again. I give thanks for you, forgiveness and courage, and dreams that come true, wisdom and laughter, people coming together, standing tall through disaster. I give thanks for all the wonder and the magic there is to see, and acceptance when I finally arrive, let my troubles be. Thank you, Lord, thank you, grace, thank you for still being alive and surviving a dark place. I give thanks for all I have, and each day I wake up, I can't do it all again. I give thanks for the simple things and the glory each new day brings. I give thanks for another day in this beautiful world. We all get to play and give thanks. I 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 give thanks.
Namjai, flowing from the heart. You know, that's certainly what we're feeling as individuals, businesses, and foundations throughout Idaho and the Northwest have donated to support the construction of the new Wassmuth Center for Human Rights. I'm excited to announce that the first step in construction is starting next month. Yes, we're going to actually begin seeing shovels in the ground. And yes, there are still remaining donor recognition opportunities, so it's not too late to still add your family or company name to the project.
Erstead Architects is honored to be involved in the Wassmuth Center education facility. This will become the permanent home for administration and visitors to the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights, and the only Anne Frank Memorial in the entire United States. The facility will contain orientation for visitors coming to the site, be it individuals or classes. It has administrative offices for administration and volunteers. Above, it has a classroom for education of human rights content, as well as a library to support those efforts. As we designed the project, we were particularly inspired by the adjacency to the memorial. We found that simplicity in form was critical to fostering and maintaining the vision and the mission of the center. We utilized natural daylighting to illuminate the spaces during the day and artificial light to really enhance and illuminate the ideals of human rights as it goes beyond the boundaries of the building into the world.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Erstedt Architects, for being both a celebration program sponsor and a firm that so embraces the center's mission, designing a building that physically embodies who we are and what we stand for. Thank you also to our general contractor, Guho Corporation, for being a celebration program sponsor. We are so excited to be working with you. We're also excited to announce that the new building has been named in honor of former Idaho Governor Philip E. Batt. Governor Batt's personal and professional commitment to human rights in Idaho hallmarks his legacy. He sponsored much of the major legislation passed on the issue when he was in the legislature, including the creation of the Idaho Human Rights Commission. And as governor, pushed through landmark legislation to cover Idaho's Hispanic farm workers under the State Workers' Compensation Program. As one former staff aide stated, Governor Batt's life's work has been about looking for genuine acceptance of people who've been excluded for a long time. We're looking forward to welcoming you to the new Wassmuth Education Center. Now in the studio, and without further ado, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome tonight's celebration co-host to the stage. Yes, she's truly a community powerhouse, Rocci Johnson.
Thank you, Dan. That was quite an introduction. I'm delighted to be a part of tonight's Change Your World celebration. You know, as an artist, I'm so thrilled with the intentionality of featuring so many Idaho artists, not only with tonight's program, but ultimately in the new Wassmuth Center for Human Rights. It's just incredible. I know firsthand the power of the arts in bringing a community together and the messages that can be shared. You know, I can only imagine the conversations that'll take place as the visitors enter the center and interact with each art piece. To be featured on the first floor of the center, let's look at the tribute to the late Supreme Court Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Idaho Women Lawyers is thrilled to be part of the Wassmuth Center's campaign to build a comprehensive education facility in Boise. A citizenry educated in human rights is perhaps the most fundamental criteria for a civil society. Human rights provide an ethical and moral framework for living in a community. The Wassmuth Center teaches us that with love, justice, respect, equality, kindness, and compassion, we can make a profound impact in our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities, and the world. There is a statement on the website for the Wassmuth Center that says, "Saying yes to human rights is the best way to say no to prejudice." That's powerful, and a reason Idaho Women Lawyers is pleased to support the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights. When Idaho Women Lawyers was approached about supporting the Ruth Bader Ginsburg exhibit at the new Wassmuth Education Center, our interest was immediately piqued. We're an organization focused on advancing diversity through the promotion of equal rights and opportunities for women in the legal profession. And here we were being asked to participate in a tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Idaho was a part of Justice Ginsburg's story. She briefed a case that arose in Idaho and was ultimately decided by the United States Supreme Court. The name of the case is Reed versus Reed. And in Reed versus Reed, the Supreme Court ruled for the first time that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment in the United States Constitution prohibited differential treatment based on sex. So as the conversation evolved about the new Wassmuth Education Center, and Idaho women lawyers learned that the Education Center would feature a tribute wall to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we found out that one of the art pieces that had been commissioned for display on the tribute wall would be a sculpture by Boise artist Benjamin Victor. And the title of that sculpture would be Transcendent Justice. Benjamin is the only living artist to have 4 sculptures in Statuary Hall in the United States Capitol building. And the title of the art piece, Transcendent Justice, is music to our ears.
The process of creating this sculpture of transcendent justice was a really organic, and it just kind of evolved as I worked with the idea of justice. I went back and forth with some different designs, and we were talking about memorializing an area in the center to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so we wanted like a metaphor for justice and not just a literal portrait of her, as I was thinking about the idea of what true justice is. And basically in the sculpture you can see you have a figure rising up. She's actually floating in this ethereal drapery that's rising up around her. So she's not your stereotypical figure of justice that you'd see in front of a courthouse with the blinded justice with the blindfold on. She's instead cloaked in this drapery, not nude like a justice figure would be. And instead of the blindfold, she has a sheer drape that's kind of blowing across her face and melding in with the drapery behind her. And so what it creates is a metaphor for the idea that justice transcends above just the law. I mean, sure, we hope and we always work towards justice in the law and that our laws will be just. But when I thought about the figures in history that have stood up for what's truly just, a lot of them stood up against the law to do what was right, whether it was Rosa Parks or Chief Standing Bear or any of these figures that marched for justice. That's what this figure represents. So she's actually becoming the scales of justice rather than simply holding the scales of justice. And I hope people really think about that deeper concept and then go out from there, like the goal of the Wassmuth, to go out and live it. You know, see that and see and understand that each of us has a responsibility to justice. It's not just the courts. We each have our own responsibility in our own life to try our best to do the right thing, as imperfect as we can be. When we look back in history, like figures like Anne Frank or Corrie ten Boom or Oskar Schindler that did the right thing when all the world around them was doing the wrong thing, and it was okay and just to steal your neighbor's property or to destroy them or turn them in to be murdered or tortured. There were figures that didn't do that. Against the law, they hid people and helped people, and they did it all for the greater good. And so that's the idea of transcendent justice, is she's rising up, becoming the greater justice that we all hope to strive for.
This piece was inspired by Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her passing, actually, in September of 2020. When she died, I was very, very sad, as many of us were, and that morning I made a little chalk drawing in front of my house on the sidewalk. And the chalk drawing was of one of her collars that she famously wore, and the particular one I picked was this one from South Africa, which she was given, and she was really inspired by the South African Constitution that they rewrote and sort of did it right the second time around, and focusing a lot on human rights and equality. After that, I did another one in front of the Idaho Supreme Court, because once I started researching her work, I realized that her first breakout case was in 1971 in Idaho, where she was advocating for gender rights. And that was, 50 years ago or so. And so anyway, that's how the piece started, in that I did this giant chalk drawing that was probably 40 feet, 50 feet around of the collar. And then after that, my sister, who's an attorney, was looking for a piece for her new office. She really wanted a new piece of art that had to do with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I was like, well, let me see what I can come up with. So taking that drawing, chalk drawing of the lace collar, I kind of just started playing around with things, and I had been working on works that I was carving in wood and filling with plaster, so I kind of kept that idea going and made this piece, which is carved out of wood and filled in with wet plaster, and then dried and sanded and then burned. It's a long process, and then sealed in beeswax. So it's not a painting per se, because there's no paint in it, but it's a painting, with using fire and other materials. Once I made that one, I was like, you know what? I want to research all of her work, and so I came up with 12 of her cases that I thought were the best cases, the most impactful for human rights, and then made 11 more of these, and then decided to offer them up as like a limited edition. So each piece was dedicated to a different case, and then I sold all of those and donated one to the Wassmuth Center. I think the Wassmuth Center is like a lighthouse or a beacon for hope and kindness and human rights. The whole Anne Frank Memorial lets people learn every day while they're on their bike or just walking by.
Dan, those are two amazing pieces of art. I'm excited to see more. As a member of Idaho's music community, I love that we've already heard from Marcus Eaton and Blazin' Kelly. Both were singing about themes that are so important to the center's work. So, you know what? Now let's hear from Steve Fulton.
Everyone deserves the opportunity to live their healthiest life. That's why Optum Idaho is working hard to advance health equity for all members of our community. Our goal at Optum is to provide equitable access to quality behavioral health care, regardless of a person's age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, or cultural background. By partnering with impactful organizations, embracing emerging technologies, and leading with compassion, we are working to identify and remove barriers so you can receive timely support that fits your individual healthcare needs. Optum Idaho is proud to reflect the diversity woven into the fabric of our community. We are committed to earning your trust and fostering a culture of inclusion to better support your overall well-being. Because together, we can create a healthier and happier world for everyone. To learn more about our services, visit OptumIdaho.com.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Optum Idaho, for being a celebration program sponsor. We are so grateful for your support. You know, Rocci, we talk a lot about being a community. In your opening toast, you'd mentioned that in the Thai language, Nam Jai is actually a word for community. I like how that was defined. More than being a place, a community is the people and their care for one another. Let's look at another art piece that will be in the new center, but first, let's begin with the people who are making the installation possible.
We've been partners with the Wassmuth Center for quite some time. I think as Boise and the Treasure Valley has grown, the Wassmuth Center is that much more vital and important to our community. And I think we just have an incredible opportunity to use the Wassmuth Center as a call to action to, you know, set the stage for acceptance and diversity and making the world a better place.
The Wassmuth Center does an excellent job of being on the forefront of communicating with the community about advancing human rights and advancing the power of diversity that we have here. And as we go forward and grow in the Boise area, it's going to take everyone's part to keep our values, to keep the diversity, and to keep the progress forward for everyone to have the rights that they deserve. It kind of echoes the statement of being Boise kind, and I think the Wassmuth Center does an excellent job of bringing that to everyone's attention and pushing it forward.
The quote that always comes to mind whenever I think about community and community service is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which is, "Life's most pertinent and urgent question is, what can you do for others?" Community is everything to our family. That's what our parents taught us growing up was, you're part of this community. You have to give back to this community with everything that you can. And that's why we're absolutely so honored to be able to donate to the Wassmuth Center. And we're so looking forward to seeing its new home.
In my mind, as soon as I talked to Dan and the Wassmuth Center, I thought wings, freedom, that kind of stuff. When they presented the idea of the space and what they thought they wanted, I thought of unity and togetherness and multiple components coming together as one. And so that immediately sparked all these ideas of what shape can I make out of how many thousands of pieces. And so from there, just idea after idea, and then started thinking about like the deep end of it. What does this piece mean? What can it mean? How do we spin that? How do we educate people on the piece? I didn't really have an idea of what the wing is going to look like. I decided that I would let my subconscious kind of figure that out, right? So I just went in there and I was like, I probably want these to be whitish, clear, translucent somehow, maybe slightly iridescent. And so how do I achieve that? And then I just went in there and made one, and it came out, and that was it. Each wing is, pretty small profile, but that's the point. Just by itself, it's this little wing, but together, it's this mighty piece. Normally I spend a lot more time beating my head against the wall on certain things, and this was just one of those things that just naturally just came. I'm not one of those artists that makes art that is always inspirational. Like, I make a lot of utilitarian art. I like purpose, functionality, and beauty all at once, you know. I feel like, and in the beginning I think it was maybe because I needed to feed my family, so I needed to make stuff that would sell, and that just still stuck with me. But so for me to like make a piece and have some sort of meaning behind it, I went backwards on this piece. Like, they wanted an installation, and I immediately like thought of this installation, and then it took me a long time actually to really think about what this piece could mean and what direction I wanted the meaning of this piece to be. Right? That was more the question for me than the installation itself. I already knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. And then I like wanted to get some meaning behind it, so that's what ended up taking me almost way longer than the actual sculpture itself. It's my job as an artist to make sure that people stop and look at the beauty in life and realize there's things out there that are beautiful, and regardless of what happens in the world, you just keep moving forward.
Gee, Dan, from what we're viewing, I'm beginning to think that the new center is also going to be a must-see art gallery featuring all Idaho artists in what you shared in the opening, a human rights journey. As we were watching Philip, it reminded me that he also donated a piece for the Celebration online auction.
Oh, that's right, Rocky. The Celebration is the center's signature fundraiser to support and expand human rights education in Idaho. As a nonprofit, we depend upon that support. And this year's online auction is honestly one of the best I've seen. There are trips to Amsterdam and the Anne Frank House, Gorongosa National Park in Mozambique, a holiday week in Newport Beach, California. There are stays in Coeur d'Alene, Sun Valley, McCall, wine packages, dinners. We even have an opportunity to golf with the one and only, the man whose name caused a Twitter storm. Yes, a chance to golf with Mark Johnson. With our gratitude to HP Inc. for sponsoring this year's auction, let's give the audience a chance to grab their phones to check out the auction. And don't forget that the auction closes at 10 p.m. this evening. And as you're checking out the auction, let's listen to Cal Scott and Smallest Act of Kindness. Well, one of the center's signature educational opportunities, our summer reading program for ages 4 to 8, is featured.
There is grace in the smallest act of kindness, be it a smile that is true or a word from the heart. It can help put pain and suffering behind us and welcome home a wayward child from afar. It's the currency of the spirit, it's the language of the soul. It's the essence of the good books, one and all, one and all. It's the essence of the good books, one and all. There is courage in the smallest act of kindness. With a lover or a foe, it is not the easy way. It's the simplest to offer in the moment, but the hardest to master day by day. It's the currency of the spirit, it's the language of the soul. It's the essence of the good books, one and all, one and all. It's the essence of the good books, one and all. Give your time to your brother, bring him home from the wilderness, lend an ear to the old ones before they take their rest. Light a candle in the darkness of the rooms of despair. kindness. It is a whisper in the ear that echoes far beyond. And it is a wave that carries across the ocean that was born of a simple pebble in the pond. It's the currency of the spirit, it's the language of the soul. It's the essence of the good books, one and all, one and all. It's the essence of the good books, one and all. It's the essence of the good books, one and all.
Gee, Dan, watching the children so engaged in the reading program, it reinforces just how important the Center's work is in the education about and for human rights. While several of the Center's programs are designed specifically for student audiences, I think it's also important to recognize the classroom educators who share those programs and opportunities with their students.
That is so true, Rocky. You know, I began my career as a professional educator with almost 20 years in the classroom. And the Wassmuth Center truly values the work being done, the passion shared, and the commitment to teaching and learning that happens in classrooms throughout Idaho. We are thrilled to recognize our 2022 Idaho Human Rights Educator of the Year, Hiram Miranda from North Junior High School in Boise. With a Bachelor of Fine Art and Arts Education degree from Boise State and a degree in Spanish from the same institution, a master's degree in Instruction and Curriculum Development from the University of Phoenix, and a degree in Drafting with studio emphasis in Construction Drawing from the Western Institute of Technology of Guatemala, Hiram is literally sharing his passion for the art of human rights with his students. Ladies and gentlemen, Hiram Miranda.
As an artist and educator, I am so thankful for this recognition. It has been a great opportunity to provide to my students the opportunity to express themselves, their own thoughts and feelings towards human rights. Not only have they learned, so have I. Having the Wassmuth Center of the Human Rights Organization here in our community has created great learning experiences. It is amazing to watch my students expand their knowledge through creative expressions of human rights and humanity in general. One of the things I have learned is that never is too early to engage our youth in conversation about human rights. Once again, thank you.
Congratulations, Hiram. Rocky, the new Wassmuth Center for Human Rights will include not only classroom space, but also a research and a lending library. That library was funded in dedication to Dr. Marilyn Howard, former Idaho State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Having had the pleasure and the honor of working for Marilyn, it is such a fitting tribute. And the art that will hang in the library is truly a work of heart.
So I did this quilt
in honor of my mother because they were going to name the library after my mom. My mom was very involved with the Wassmuth Center, and so I did this quilt so that we could put it in her library. And so for me, it kind of started with, you know, I have a vision of my mom from when I was really young, with kids all around her because she taught school, mostly kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. But for my mom, they weren't kids, they were little people. So I decided that with my mom's library that we should do a little people quilt. And so that's what I did. And so if you look at the quilt, the intention was to be able to represent equally what faces of children look like throughout the world. And I think that it really is a representation of the work that my mom was doing. My mom passed away in 2020, and I had offered to make the quilt, but at the same time was really actually dreading it as well, because it was a final chapter for my mom. But what I found was that in creating that quilt, that it was cathartic, actually. So every one of them has a name. So, you know, there's Sandy and Tom and Betty and John. And so, you know, really what happened is that I'd get up every morning and I would think about how would I dress the kids? You know, so how would I dress my mom's little people? You know, so I pulled fabric from her stash and pulled fabric from my stash. And then I worked with a company to hand dye the fabric so that we had an equal representation of different ethnicities throughout the quilt. What went from seeming like an undoable task turned into something that was healing for me and hopefully inspirational for other people.
Fight with the strength of love. Words keep piling up deep down in my chest. Late nights sifting through the heaviness. Nothing I might find to say could ever be enough. Still I sing with the strength of love. 'Cause I believe there's still a chance for peace. Until justice is more than just a dream. The only way that is everybody getting free. You and I for our humanity. Downtown folks are proudly living out loud, building joy right where they shot it down. With a blossom in the barrel and a fist to the sun. We resist with the strength of love. Uptown, weary voices scraping the sky. Every day I'm on the front line. Every name they're crying out belongs to someone. Crying out with the strength of love. 'Cause I believe there's still a chance for peace. But will they live to see their promise through? No war against the innocent could ever be won. We will fight with the strength of love. Records broken, is it bound to repeat? Heart broke open, but it's full of seeds. Now everywhere from underground they're rising up with the strength of love. I believe there's still a chance of peace. Yeah, until justice is more than just a dream. The only way there is everybody getting free. You and I, you and I, you and I, you and I, we will fight, we will sing, we will cry, we resist. Yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa, 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 yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, we will fight with the strength of love. With the strength of love. With the strength of love. Oh, with the strength of love. 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 With the strength of. With the strength of love. Yeah.
I actually came here as a refugee during the Gulf War. It was really hard for me when I first came here because I was freaking out. It's like my country's under invasion, everything's going on, and I didn't know what to do. And when I got here, people didn't even know where I was from. Like, Kuwait, what? Like, I don't even know where it is on a map. To have somewhere that you feel safe, that you feel like people get you, that you know that there are these people, it's such a comforting feeling when everything feels so out of control. Ken does so much work for the Wassmuth Center and absolutely loves everyone there. And so there was one project and he was like, hey, they want this table built, would you help me? And I was like, oh yeah, totally. Love that place, love everything about it. So we go to the meeting and they're telling me all about this new building that of course I hadn't heard about because it was like right at the beginning. And they're showing me pictures and there's this and here's Ken's piece and here's where your table's gonna go. And then you go up the stairs and this is the wall where you want your artwork. And I said, my what? And they were like, yeah, so this wall is like 12 feet tall. And I'm like, yes, thank you, And so I was like, okay, like, what are you thinking? And they were like, what do you want to do? So I kind of had an idea percolating in my head a little bit because the women at the table, we had all been talking about at the time how hard everything was with, we were still COVIDed and everything was kind of online still. And we were talking about that feeling of every single day getting online and pushing back at the misinformation. The idea is using your community, your love, your, all the good things in your life. Part of that came from the quote that Dan said would be on that wall, and it's a Miriam Edelman quote, but basically the idea is using yourself and what you have and all the good stuff in your life to put that out into the world. And so that idea, the edges will be all this darkness, all blackness, and it'll have symbols, hate words, and swastikas and chained hands and things like that, but they're in the black, so you won't really see it unless you're like right up on it. But her standing there just with that powerful head pushback, pressing away at it. Not only is she pushing away the darkness, but she's breaking through it. There's going to be that gold in places where she's cracking the darkness and all that hate and ugliness by using the light that is her community, her education, her people, and standing on those books like that, on that tiptoes, you know, like I'm embodying all the good things about my world, and I'm using that to press that darkness away until you break through it. Everything about getting picked for this project was so amazing and wonderful. Like, it was like all joy.
It is very important that we have a major footprint. Human rights is a major footprint in Idaho.
To me and to Mary, what's so important is education. It's absolutely our future. It is so important, I believe, that we get back to understanding how important it is to not only think about ourselves and our family, but those people we don't know. And that, I believe, is what's going to happen in the new education building. So we're thrilled to be able to contribute in some small way.
And I have to say that when we throw around the word human rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was written in 1945, spearheaded by Eleanor Roosevelt after World War II, is written out on tablets, all 30 of them, here in the memorial. And that is our beacon. That is what human rights is. I understand it's one of the few places in the United States where it is written out in full for citizens to just walk by and see. Raham is an immigrant, and it wasn't so easy for her, and now she is very well known and very a delightful part of this community. She takes broken glass that's sharp and could be dangerous and makes it into something beautiful. And to me, that is inspiring in the sense that she creates kindness and empathy.
I like the idea that as people enter this building, which is dedicated to education, they're going to be met with a piece of artwork. When you look at art, everyone has an opinion. I like it, I don't like it, this is good, this is bad. But ultimately with art, it provokes, it gets a response. And hopefully that response gets us to interact with each other, to talk with each other, and also to respect your opinion, my opinion. So the idea to have this wonderful piece of art as you enter a building which is dedicated to education, to me is very exciting, and I suspect there'll be many different responses. I reference it back to right now, this time right now, where we seemingly can't agree on anything, but beyond that, within the disagreements, we tend to be, in a sense, disrespectful of each other. And it is a time like this where I believe art is so important, and so hopefully this will inspire others as they come into the center.
Wow, Dan. Emily sang about the strength of love, and Mary and David certainly are singing that same tune. And Reham's mosaic is a virtual testimony of the strength to stand against hate. You know, Dan, as I've watched the impact that the center has not only in Boise, but throughout our entire state, I'd always appreciated when it is necessary to call out the hate. You consistently amplify and call for the good. And I've heard you talk about Bill Wassmuth's life and the lessons learned when he confronted the Aryan compound in North Idaho. What is it you say? When Bill was confronted with hate, he and the voices of good stood taller and got louder. That sounds like the strength of love to me.
Oh, Rocky, that it is. And as it's etched in the stone of the memorial, Bill also stated, and we already heard it once tonight, saying yes to human rights is the best way to say no to prejudice and bigotry.
It's an honor to create something for the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights, as a way to honor my late husband, Bill Wassmuth, as well as support the works in human rights. This particular piece is a nod to his Catholic heritage, and that really informed his energy and his sense of right and wrong, and his focus on human rights. Bill was a progressive Catholic, and he was inspired by the words of Sister Joan, a revolutionary and thoughtful Catholic nun. And so I reached out to her and got her permission to use these quotes on compassion. I studied as a traditional Orthodox iconographer in Italy, and when I came back to the United States, I was really moved by illuminated manuscripts, and it wasn't a hard transition because there are some similar materials used, egg tempera and gold leaf. But for this particular piece, because it's in a public setting, I'm using a wood panel and acrylic paints. It's hardier and it can withstand being in a public setting. I'm not a trained calligrapher, but calligraphy is a key component for illuminating manuscripts. But I use it as a supportive cast member in creating the concept for the manuscript. I've included plants from Idaho and animals also from Idaho. The animals are selected because they are ones who rely on each other for their survival, but not just their survival, their well-being as a community. If they are a healthy community, then they have a better chance of survival. And so I've selected ants who really rely on one another, honeybees, the red fox, crows, prairie dogs. They all rely on each other for their survival and well-being, and we can learn a lot from them about being connected to one another and compassion. So compassion is defined as sympathy and concern for others who are suffering. But compassion to me has this special magical element to it because it sparks a person to take action and to help the other. It's one thing just to feel sympathy from a distance. It's another to actually take action to help reduce their suffering. And so compassion, I think, is a major element for a very healthy community. And I hope this piece will inspire others to take action when they see someone is suffering.
As an education center, we are consistently going deeper in the concepts of the spiral of injustice and be an upstander. To provide context, definition, and basically give the concepts a voice and a face, we are reminded that injustice and the promotion and protection of human rights impacts people. As David Peterman just stated, and as it is etched in the memorial stone, we quote Eleanor Roosevelt. We have to face the fact that either all of us are going to die together or we are going to learn to live together. And if we are to live together, we have to talk. Let's take a look at excerpts from two of the center's newest video productions and how our programming continues to go deeper.
Okay, don't take this the wrong way, but I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Why are black people always being rewarded for being black?
What are you talking about, Aiden?
It just seems like in this country, black people are always being rewarded for crying over discrimination. It's like, come on, really?
I want to hear you out, but when you use generalizations like black people always, it makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, well, I don't want to be called out for my beliefs, okay?
He's got a point. Lately, it seems like bringing attention to black issues causes more problems.
Wait, how does acknowledging racism create more problems?
Racism? Bryce, I didn't say anything about racism.
But discrimination surrounding blackness is about racism.
Aiden, why does talking about racism make you mad?
This just feels like reverse racism to white people.
Black people and white people aren't fighting to win rewards. Anti-racist methods are meant to balance the inequalities created by racism. Do you all see what's happening here?
No. What's happening?
Does anyone notice how quickly we just spiraled?
Are you talking about how we all got angry?
Yeah, I see that.
Maybe this is a good time to talk about the spiral of injustice.
The what?
The spiral of injustice.
Wait, did everyone see that the Idaho and Frank Human Rights Memorial was just vandalized again with racist and anti-Semitic language?
What?
Look.
Why does that keep happening?
The article keeps referencing anti-Semitism. I have no idea what that is.
You're not alone. A lot of people don't see it or recognize it even when they're looking at it or hearing it. I've felt it. I'm Jewish and I've felt the irrational hatred.
Wait, so anti-Semitism means that there are people who don't like Jewish people?
Yeah, but it runs deeper than that.
But why? I don't understand why there are people who will single out a group of people and target them like that.
Gabrielle, we're talking about targeting a people who some view as a perceived racial group inferior or a people to be feared.
Oh, so it's racism.
In a way. But that's why language is so important. It all plays into the spiral of injustice.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, my name is Michaela Jones. I'm a Native American painter. And when I was approached about creating a piece for the new Wassmuth Center building, I was really excited and very honored. When I think about diversity, I can't help but think about people who really didn't have a chance maybe to reach for their dreams because of constraints that were put on them. I think about my grandma Stella. She never had the opportunity to express herself through art or take pride in her diversity because she was sent as a young girl to a boarding school in the early 1900s. It was a de-Indianization school, and the purpose of these types of schools were really to strip children of their identity, to take away their language, their culture, their art. And so for me to be able to express myself and to create art that she never had the chance to make, I've always appreciated this freedom to create art that reflects the beauty of our Shoshone Paiute culture. And that was one of the things that inspired me to begin painting. The reason I chose to do 3 horses for my diversity-inspired painting is because horses can look very much alike when you see them out running. And when they come close, you touch them, you feed them, you realize that they're very different, different heights, different personalities. So for me, I thought that that represented the idea that as humans, we're also very unique and diverse. So I thought I could talk a little bit about my process. I'm a self-taught painter, and I have primarily used acrylic. And I came up with this process where I use gesso and various tools like palette knives to kind of create depth. And this allows me to layer multiple colors. You can see I'm just underpainting right now. But when I do create art, if it's an animal, and I always start with the eyes because I feel like that sets the tone and really brings in personality. And this one is going to have some gold, silver, and copper leafing in the circle that I believe represents how we're all connected.
At Delta Dental of Idaho, our mission is to improve oral health for those in our community. We do that through 2 primary ways. The first one is our prepaid dental benefits, and the second one is our community outreach. Our community outreach focuses on those who aren't able to go to the dentist because we believe everybody deserves a healthy smile. We are very proud to be associated with the Wassmuth Center. Our matching principles for diversity, equality, and inclusion really help bring our community together. We all benefit when we are open to new ideas, different ways of doing things, and different backgrounds and experiences. Help change your world, our world, by inviting diversity, including those you normally would not include, and by giving everybody a chance. Who knows, you just may create a smile or two, and that's never a bad thing.
Thank you, Delta Dental of Idaho, for being a celebration program sponsor. Dan, don't you think that their work and support for the center's work can literally put a smile on your face?
Oh, that it does. You know, Rocky, we are surrounded by a lot of good. And, Rocky, we want to take a moment to thank you for all that you do in living your commitment to diversity, inclusion, and acceptance. You really are our Rocky, using your talents to stand up those who would divide us. For that, and in sincere gratitude on behalf of the Wassmuth Center Board, our staff, volunteers, I'd like to present you with our Community Upstander recognition as that powerhouse of acceptance. And we have a few more who would like to pay tribute.
Oh.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All of that, yeah, let's let respect when I get it. Just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do wrong while you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't want to. All I'm asking is for a little respect. Just a little when you get home. Just a little bit. Hey, baby, when you get home. Just a little bit. I'm about to give you all my money, and all I'm asking in return, honey, is to give me my promise when you get home. Just a little bit. When you get home. Ooh, your kisses, sweeter than honey. And guess what? So is my money. And all I got to do for me is give it to me when you get home. Yeah, baby. Just give it to me. Just a little bit. R-E-S-P-C-T. Find out what that means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T. Take care of TCB. I said, hey, just a little respect. I said, come on, child. I ain't lying. I said, come on. Anytime. Respect. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Respect. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Respect. We love you, Rocky. Congratulations. Respect. Good job.
That wasn't fair.
It's a tribute so well deserved, and it is with our admiration, and it is with our respect. You are our community upstander. You know, we've heard so many this evening describe the center and the memorial as a place of hope, of inspiration, and a work that is designed to lift us up during times of darkness. It's an idea that was taken seriously in the creation of another new art piece.
Since I'm a fabricator and I build and have built a lot, I always go into things with the thought process of, is this something that I can do? So one of the stone placards had been vandalized and broken, and Dan had saved it. And they approached me about making a table. And since Raham was working on one of the main pieces on the inside, I can't remember if it was Dan's idea or our idea to come up to do the mosaic half of the other side of the broken section that had been vandalized to kind of show rebirth, or something's made better after it's been abused and destroyed, that good things come out of those bad situations. Then they wanted me to work on entrance sculpture. That's where I came up with Uplifted. Dan was wanting something that lifted people up. I think he literally said that. And so I'm like, oh, well, what lifts people up, or what lifts things up, or wings, or something that kind of reaches up to the sky and brings you out of a bad situation. They'll be engraved through the aluminum on this bottom section of the wing, and then be backlit. And so different inspiring, uplifting words will be in the wings. I see a lot of people getting caught in normalcy bias, like just look away, it'll go away, without good people standing up or lifting up or helping. I think that the Wassmuth Center is absolute most important thing in the city. It needs to be like a very focal point, and that's what's so amazing about the new add-ons and everything, is that it shows there is interest and there is people who are dedicated to creating this new thought process that doesn't end in, genocide.
The theme that I was asked to work on was inclusion. And so I went through a series of ideas about how to visualize something so complex in one image. I ended up coming up with the idea of using hands, and hands that could be creating symbols, that could be doing active things like dancing or gesturing or talking with one's hands or doing any number of human activities. And some are much more specific to certain kinds of movements related to people. And then, as is typical in a lot of my work, I wanted to also use pattern, and use pattern to signify a number of different complex ideas and that it could be read in a number of different ways. So, for instance, there is a section at the top that are these lines that are repeating and sort of marking this linear pattern that goes from one line to the next, and each line kind of affects what the next line will do. And I was thinking about something like a fingerprint, something like tree rings, so it could be indicative of something like growth, of something like identity, but it can have multiple readings depending on who's looking at it and what their interpretation is. I've been thinking about the impact that artists have, which is really important, but the impact that everyone has. Anytime you can have a dialogue about how you see an image, I think it's really important, and I think that's a really important part. And I think it's something that artists have to talk about as well. We can't just say, well, here's my image and enjoy my thoughts on this, or whatever you can get out of it. Like, we have to talk to people about it as well, and what the different images mean, and how they can be used for good. I think that education part is really important. So I'm really excited that there will be art as such an integral part of the new education center, because it will open that dialogue and start a lot of discussions about how images are used and how artists take part in all this, and how anyone can take part in it by looking at art and discussing it and talking about it.
which could hold a universe, some kind of universe, some kind of universe, some kind of a universe. Between some kind of thought and its skillful execution lies a world of experience, a blueprint of a plan, some kind of a plan, some kind of a plan, some kind of a plan. Between the last light of day and the time we call the night, tailored between the hemispheres, that mystic slice of light, some kind of a light, some kind of a light, some kind of a light. Between a blast of liftoff and a soaring to great heights, must be some kind of force giving way to destiny, some kind of destiny, some kind of destiny, some kind of a destiny. In the pause before a smile and the rest before a sound, must be some kind of pulse which gives to me an all of life, some kind of a 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 plan, some kind of destiny, some kind of a life.
Some kind of a light. We hope that the center's work and the presence of the new building in Idaho's capital city, literally a one-of-a-kind human rights education center within the footprint of a one-of-a-kind human rights memorial, is that beacon, is that which inspires each of us to just say yes to human rights.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you to the musicians, especially the Divas of Boise. Oh my gosh, they are my heart. The artists, dancers, and actors whose talent and passion was showcased this evening. Thank you to our celebration program sponsors, Erstad Architects, Guhor Corporation, Idaho First Bank, Optum Idaho, Delta Dental of Idaho, and HP Incorporated. And with gratitude to Blue Cross of Idaho for sponsoring the 19th annual Change Your World celebration.
And to our viewers for their continued support and commitment to the importance of human rights education. And don't forget, the Celebration Online Auction and Fund-a-Need closes at 10 p.m. this evening. As we read in the memorial, Be the change you want to see in the world.
You are enough.
You are not alone.
I see you. I see you.
I appreciate you.
You are welcome here.
I've got your back.
We are listening. Come as you are.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. My love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do. Fighting your dogs, getting bit every day. They say stick to your singing, Johnny, and you'll be okay. Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. My love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do. Can you hear yourself? Do you know what you say? Are you crazy like a fool using that mouth to pray? Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. My love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do. People of great character can't seem to advance, 'cause the color of their skin, there ain't a fighting chance. Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. Oh no. My love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do. Now you say that I'm a criminal, 'cause I question your plan. The Constitution states that we're all equal man. Chain breaker blues can't get through to you. Yes, my love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do. Chain breaker blues. Chain breaker blues. Chain breaker blues now. Chain breaker blues. My love is on the other side, and I know what the hell to do.